camera setup. I upgraded my Mac. Well, my Mac upgraded itself overnight, and suddenly the Logitech Stream Cam stopped working. And as usual, I figured this out 5-10 minutes before the live stream, which is extremely helpful. So I might move the camera around a little bit because right now I have my iPhone set up as my camera, and it's in the way of the screen that I'm pointing at. So apologies for that. Please let me know if there's a problem with the sound or something. I can increase the volume. Can you hear me clearly? Like, that would be really helpful. And we're gonna get started, I guess. Yeah. Oh, vocal mic is low. Okay, like, how about now? Is this better? Hopefully this is better. And also, yeah, I mean, that should be better. I can see the volume is more into the yellow. Maybe I'll just turn it up to max. Okay, so let's hope this works better. Okay, so welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis by me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where I look at the data of what the hell is going on in the market rather than just the vibes, although we can also talk about vibes a little bit. And I try and figure out what might happen next, and that's definitely in the sort of not data category, the hypothesis category, but it's still interesting to speculate a little bit. But what we're mostly looking at is what is actually happening. So a quick overview with the top 10, we had a kind of like double bump here. The Yuga Labs thing was here. It's sort of bumped again, but it's kind of gone back down. It's below the 7-day SMA. Whether that means anything is up to you, but it's not a bullish sign, let's say. The Seneca Old didn't bother with that second bump and just went straight back down. Seneca New is not going above the 7-day SMA. It's just sticking there below. And the women-led projects index is continuing its descent into all-time new lows. So that's the situation there. Let's have a quick look at the stacked bar charts. So we can see that just after my report yesterday morning, there was a lot of activity here on the that's the Macy, that's red here, the lighter red here. And then it's been decent activities of the following 3 bars, but much lower for the last one, which we know that traditionally, at least as far as there can be any tradition in this, there has often been a lower bar chart just before my noon report in the UK. I guess is when most of the US is sleeping. So the activity is a bit lower here. So that doesn't necessarily mean we're heading down. This should be a bit more transparent. 1 second. Opacity. Let's make that more transparent. There you go. So yeah, so it doesn't mean we're heading sort of down like this, but so it could just bounce back up next and sort of hang around there. But what it isn't is a sort of like straight up type of scenario. Whatever was that blue project in Seneca Old has stopped doing its thing, so the volumes have continued to go down. So that's pump here was potentially not even related at all to the Yuga Labs thing. Hold on, Seneca Old. Yeah. I mean, it was somewhat related because there was also the Yuga Lab stuff pumping there, but mostly came from that blue project, which I need to build some better tools to be able to identify which ones are the projects pumping in an index, and I'll get there at some point, but remember, it's just me doing all this. If we also have a look at Seneca New, there's nothing particularly important going, or nothing particularly stands out going there. We're just sort of middling, not much activity happening there. As for the women-led projects index, we can see that continuing to trend downwards in the stack bar charts. If we look at the top 10, we can see that it's been an interesting time there. The price index shot up and continued to shoot up after that first spike for a little bit longer. This kind of reminds me of what happened, around, and sorry for moving my head, I'm just trying to see the graph that I'm pointing at. It kind of reminds me of what happened around here, where the first spike got the prices up a bit, and then the second spike got the prices up a lot more, and then it all came crashing down. And this could be the scenario that we see here. Obviously, I don't know. I know that this line has not been held, if that was the line that we were looking at. I know that the 7-day SMA line is not being held, or is just been crossed. It could be that it bounces back up and continues like this. So that's also still a possible scenario. But right now it's just crossed this. I also know that that was a news-driven pump based on Basie or the Yuga Labs acquiring great, this is great. Siri just decided to get started in the middle of the thing. Anyway, this is the this was the Basie the Yuga Labs acquisition of CryptoPunks. It boosted the market a bit. That's news. It always it always comes back down after a news pump. So I'm expecting it to come back down. If it doesn't crash lower, I'll be positively surprised. It'll be good news for a faster recovery. But my expectation at this point is that it's going to go down like this, spend a little bit there, and then sort of resume the trend like this. Just enough to scare everybody. That is also what happened basically back in December. If you look here at the 90-day chart, it was, I mean, you can't see it here anymore, but there was a kind of steady rise up here, and then some sort of crash, don't know exactly why, followed by a recovery, and then it just continued on its way towards a bull market. That's an optimistic scenario, and maybe that will happen again. I do believe that seeing Basie back at like 90 ETH and approaching 100 ETH is not really in line with where we are in the market. I mean, if we look at where we are, okay, we're now in sort of like middling days in the bear market. This is not roaring good times. People, I think, are maybe getting over enthusiastic about what's happening, and well, they might be right. I could be completely wrong. If they realize they're wrong, then they might just run away as quickly as they can and just undercut the market. And well, we'll see. If we look at let's look at the one without the pricing. If we look at the old Zeneca old, we can see, yeah, so like as we said, looking at the short-term view, we're still in a U-shaped recovery, but we've just crossed that. Actually, we were about to cross the 30-day SMA as well. That pump was that blue project that's just gone back down. It's still looking like it could, there are some deviations in these recoveries. They're not like, straight up following the trend line. So it could very well bounce up and again continue there, or it could have the same crash if the crash happens in top 10. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in Zeneca Old as well, and in fact across the whole market, as everybody suddenly gets depressed, and this turns out to be the real bottom of the bull market, according to some people, although of course we know that the real bottom was around here. Looking at the new projects, actually, before that, looking just at the pricing chart, it's worth noting that on the Zeneca Old, the prices did rise a little bit on this pump, and now they're kind of going back down. So if you see here, there's a sort of like, it's not a very massive variation, but there's a lot of projects in this index, so the variations are going to be smaller. But it is sort of like gently trending down there. So looking at the new projects index, that one we've been saying for a while that it was kind of like flirting with that 7-day SMA. It then went below in the last report, and now it's just kind of stayed below. And if this was technical analysis of prices, you might say it's been rejected by the 7-day moving average. Whether that terminology makes any sense whatsoever is up to you, really. But the prices here are still definitely trending down quite sharply. And it's, it's looking more at this point like we're moving into a kind of sideways trend than that we're moving into an upward trend right now. We'll see what happens. Finally, if we look at the sadly most depressing index of all, the women-led projects, that one is, I mean, if we look, this is even more dramatic here, but like it's definitely just sort of heading down the toilet there. Not even managing to break past the 7-day SMA there. And if we look at the prices, they're also following. So the women-led projects, not doing very well at the moment. Not yet found a bottom as far as we can tell, which could mean some good buying opportunities coming up. Although individual projects can of course outperform this. What else to say? So like there's a question, a statement there. Doodles pumping to maybe too many speculations from Disney trying to acquire an NFT project. Yeah, I mean, like, there's lots of speculation, and I think you have to remember also that this market is very manipulable, and very often manipulated. And really, I mean, listen to the rumors because they kind of inform you about what rumors other people might be listening to. But do be aware that it's very easy to start a rumor that so some projects about to be acquired by Disney, like see a pump happen, sell into the pump and cash in a bit of money. And yeah, like that's not like, I mean, I wouldn't trade based on that kind of stuff. I would advise you to be cautious trading on those kind of rumors, because rumors are really easy to start, and you got to wonder, why is this rumor spreading? Like if Doodles, for example, was about to be acquired by Disney, then I would expect to see some buying volume happening on Doodles by insiders, if there was insider knowledge of this, but not necessarily them talking about it, because why should they? They might just wait for Doodles to actually be acquired by Disney and then sell into that pump, which would be much bigger than the sort of uncertainty of Doodles might be acquired. In fact, they might want to delay the news leaking out as much as possible so that they can buy more, so they can cash out even more on the pump. Unless, of course, the rumors are really very vague potential ideas and they just want to sell into the rumors. So, don't trust any of those rumors. I mean, yes, some of them will turn out to be true, but it's just like some projects will turn out to go up after reveal. Yeah, 5% of them or so, but most of them will go down, and most of those rumors will be untrue because they can be used to manipulate the market, and so they probably are. Another statement or question there. Obviously, it may be a good time to buy into some blue chips right now during this period. Any that you are looking to buy into or that interest you? So I don't buy a lot on secondary, but and for me, like, I know a lot of people perceive the blue chips to be where there's less risk, but my perspective is more that actually the blue chips tend to be more risky because there's more capital at risk. I mean, if you take back on January 30th or so, when I wrote my thread about is basically a good store of value, everybody was ranting about how it's obviously the best way to park your money is the way you should put your money, blah, blah, blah. Like Justin Bieber had just bought an ape and God knows what else was happening. At that point, the floor price was about 110. It was like just above 110, I think. And then over the next month and a bit, it proceeded to slide down to like lower than 70 ETH. That is insane risk for me. I mean, losing from 110 to 70, that's 40 ETH. 40 ETH is like $120,000. Losing $120,000 on one investment is like, I'm not willing to take that kind of risk. So, like, for me, blue chips are insanely risky, and that's basic. Now, of course, if you buy it at the bottom, if you time the bottoms and the tops perfectly, then nothing is risky. But then you can buy anything if you can time the tops and bottoms perfectly, and then it's all not risky. So, as I shared in my threads about how I go about, like it's titled something like "Invest Like a Swombat," I prefer to buy into mints, by projects that are run by teams that I have some faith in, and when I know that the team is competent, is capable, is committed, is well connected, they've proven that they're going to do their best to make this project fly. Buying at mint, to me, as long as the mint price is reasonable, is much less risky than buying blue chips. Obviously, if you buy mints into all sorts of random projects that come your way, that's incredibly risky because a lot of those mints will turn out to be rugs or teams that aren't really committed, like, which is kind of almost the same thing. It's an unintentional rug, let's say. It's like, oh, I'm going to start this big project, raise millions of dollars. Oh, it's really hard actually to do this project. I don't want to do this project. Let me just do something else, but I'll collect the millions of dollars that I minted anyway. To me, there's not that much difference between those two. Like if a startup founder gave up a couple of months into, or even like a couple of weeks into the project after closing the funding round, and said, oh, actually, I just figured out that this is really hard and I want to do something else, investors would be like screaming, as they should be. And that happens, I think, quite a lot when you invest in teams that don't really know what they're doing and are just jumping into the latest trend. So am I looking to buy into anything? I mean, I'm not offering advice to buy into specific projects, but as I've said multiple times, if Meta Angels does dip below 0.2, I will buy some more. I've got 13 of them at the moment. You can find my disclosure statement in the description of the video. And I quite like to have 20 instead of 13. So, you know, I might buy a few more and buy some that I like rather than just the random ones that I minted. We'll see. I might do that. I might not do that. I haven't decided. And you definitely shouldn't buy just because I like that project. But that's an answer to that question. What's the last NFT you bought? Next, you're looking into, do you mint or are you more of a secondary kind of person? So I think I've just answered that second part of the question, that I prefer to mint. I prefer to mint into projects that where I've been able to check out the founders and do my due diligence and figure out that they're worth investing in. The latest NFT that I bought actually is a Solana NFT. But disclaimer, or disclosure, I'm an advisor on this project called Little Atlas, which is more like a startup than a traditional PFP project. They're selling sort of tiles on the world map, currently in London, but they're opening more cities. And the idea is to be able to express geographical intent by buying a tile that is relevant to you. And each tile then subdivides into smaller tiles and smaller tiles and smaller tiles. So eventually everybody can buy a tile wherever they want to express some kind of geographical interest. And the way the whole thing is funded is that if you're one of the early investors right now buying those district tiles, which are much larger, you get revenues for the tiles that are bought underneath your tile. So you get some passive income from that, which is a fairly cool way to fund this. That's much better than going via the VCs and that kind of stuff. So I'm quite like that's the last project that I bought, and the next one I'm looking into, I guess. I don't have another big one that I'm looking into at the moment. Do you think this year is more the year where NFT gaming tokenomics are the new wave compared to the PFP where we were used to? Also seems like there is a wave of alpha pass NFTs coming into the space. So on the gaming, I mean, maybe. I posted a thread a while ago that suggested I was pretty bearish about the play to earn space. I've posted several threads suggesting I'm bearish about play to earn in general. That said, gaming should be and probably will be revolutionized by Web3 and NFTs and all that kind of stuff. It could be that this is a year where there's a real genuine success in this space. I don't consider Axie to be a success for gaming. I think it was a really nicely disguised casino, but I mean, maybe they'll pivot into something more valuable, but I don't see it as really a success for gaming in general. Maybe there will be something more exciting than this coming out this year that could kickstart a trend. At the moment, I don't see endless clones of Axie being a trend worth following. And, you know, hopefully that trend might have peaked and started dying with Pixelmon, which was yet another Axie clone. But most of those games seem to be basically Axie clones. Most of those games that are allegedly taking over in 2022. So I'm not super excited about it until I see something more interesting coming out there. seems like about the alpha pass NFTs. So like, I mean, there's a kind of, you might have heard the saying that in a gold rush, the people who get rich are the people saying picks and shovels, selling picks and shovels. And the same is true for an NFT gold rush. I've talked to a lot of different projects that are basically looking to help other projects. They're building infrastructure for other projects to launch. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you should be aware that there's going to be quite a lot of those projects launching, and people like, you know, either helping investors make more money or helping founders to start their projects, and be discerning about which of those you invest in. Yes, it is a good idea because there's a lot of people trying to start projects and they're duplicating work a lot, and they shouldn't need to. But do the same due diligence as you would on the founders of these projects, and invest only if you feel it ticks all the boxes, is my view. Not really got any thoughts on NFT Worlds. Seems to be doing really, really good. I'm not, like, I haven't researched it enough. Like, there's a lot of people I know are very bullish on it. Dip my feet into the Sol marketplace. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, like, to be clear with this little Atlas thing, I'm not suggesting that Solana is the place to go and buy your PFE projects. I'm just saying that's my answer to a project that I'm excited about. It happens to be on Solana. P2E Bear. No, Pixelmon has not really released a game, but the game that they were intending to release was Pokemon, basically Pokemon battles and stuff, which is exactly what Axie is. Axie is just Pokemon battles. You have 3 Pokemons and you fight 3 other Pokemons and you train them and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's the same thing. And that thing is not even new. Pokemon has existed as a game for decades. So, yeah, people are very excited about Pokemon because they like it. So they grew up with it or whatever. It's got a good brand. But actually, Pokemon itself is not moving into the NFT space. It's just Pokemon clones. And I have just zero interest in that as a gamer. I've been a gamer for decades, and this is just not an interesting category of games for me. When it comes to consulting businesses who are keen to get into NFTs, either for culture, utility, or engagement, any thoughts or advice on areas to look out for? Consulting businesses. Honestly, I haven't really thought about that. That's an interesting question. I mean, I'd ask them why they want to get keen on, get into NFTs. Why are they keen to, like, if it's just to go and make a lot of money, then maybe they shouldn't, or maybe they should, like, you know, rethink their approach. We have enough people trying to do cash grabs in the space. We don't need consulting companies to jump in as well. If there's something that they're genuinely trying to open up and sort of create better collaboration, I mean, I think NFTs are one of the most powerful collaboration technologies available out there at the moment. So that could excite some consulting companies. If so, that's a good reason for them to get into NFTs and to see how they can try to use the collaboration angle or the community building angles of NFTs as a way to make collaboration or community that wasn't possible before possible. That's I guess where my advice would be. But it's a complicated question that you asked there, Gordon. So, like, yeah, it's I might have to think about this some more. Wow, lots of questions today. Despite my awful camera setup, hopefully I can fix the stream cam by tomorrow. Thoughts on all these high mints. Seems like now the norm is moving to a higher ETH mint price, and also thoughts on Dutch auctions. I wouldn't buy into a high mint. I don't advise that you do. It's for the same reason that I wouldn't buy expensive secondary. Like, no, like, it's very risky. Yes, there is, like, if a team that is super competent, that has already proven themselves and is, like, you know, I don't know, if Basie did like, as in Yuga Labs is doing a project like as Yuga Labs with all their experience and so on, and they set the mint price at 1 ETH. Okay, fair enough. Like, that seems possibly reasonable, but they're probably the only proven team in the market at the moment. Everybody else is like teams that are less than a year old and haven't achieved that much other than make a project that somehow has become kind of popular and sort of picked up in price. So there are not really any proven teams in the market, so nobody should be charging high amounts of money. so all these kind of cash grabby approaches of like charging more money at mint, I think to me is just founders trying to make their cash out day as big as possible. I wouldn't touch it. And I mean, you'll do what you want, but I wouldn't. Interested in legit consulting, but haven't come across anything yet. Do you think there's a market for it though? Yeah. Okay, it's 13:27, so I'm probably going to finish this soon, unless one last question comes in. Keep forgetting that the camera is over here rather than up here. Thank you very much for dialing in or for listening to this after the fact. If you have, I really appreciate your attention. And yeah, thank you. Are there any, like one last question? Are there any big names that you see people follow that should probably not be listened to? Yeah, people who have already proven scammers. I mean, people are still listening to fucking Beanie Maxi. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? Just forget about those people, like Artichoke or and I will continue to call her Artichoke rather than Archick. Artichoke and Beanie Maxi and anybody who's like T-Mass and stuff like that, people who have been involved in rugs and stuff, you should not be following or listening to them. Like, they're already known scammers. The fact that people are still following them is just ridiculous. And like, how much more red flags can you have than what NFT Ethics posted on Beanie Maxi? And yet people are still considering maybe minting this project that he's talking about. This is ridiculous. On this glorious note, let's hear. You know, it's like if you know, Madoff, who ran this huge Ponzi scheme that happened in New York, was like, oh yeah, I'm going to start another business and it's going to be an investment scheme. And people are like, oh yeah, he did an investment scheme that was quite big before and he's got quite a lot of pool. Like, maybe it will work out this time. Just don't fucking invest in scammers. Come on, it's not that hard. Right. Cool. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, please dial into the next stream, ask some more questions, and I'll be happy to do my best answering them. Have a lovely day. Make sure you go outside and get some sun if there's some sun somewhere. Cheers. Bye.